Hey, today we're going to discuss the latest major order and whether we'll fail it. Not only that, but we'll also cover some news about the developers and how they relayed information with the community manager regarding upcoming map changes. And there's much more to talk about. If you'd like to support the channel, please tap the like button below and subscribe with notifications on. Let's talk about the upcoming changes for the Galactic War map. Currently, we can't see the decay rates or the defense rates for the planets, but that information will be available down the road. We know this because the developers have given the community manager, Twinbeard, information on this, and it's something we can expect at some point. If you check out this post right here, Twinbeard wrote, "Evening troops, for those of you asking about having more details about decay, liberation, and defense rates, etc. available and are shown on the Gal map, we know. As we've said before, what you're seeing now is not the final state of the map. There will be more information available, it will be improved in increments. We're still looking for a second GM to help Joel out. Once we get that, I hope we can make quicker progress in some areas." If you don't know, Airwood is indeed looking for another game master to assist Joel in managing the Galactic War map and presumably helping with adding new features as well. This hasn't happened just yet, considering the GM job application is still on the side, meaning they're still in the process of looking for another developer to help out. Besides that, the good news is that they're planning on implementing features like decay rates, defense rates, and so on to the war map. So, sometime down the road, that is something we can expect to see. Now, this solely depends on if they can find a second game master to help out. Sure, they could probably manage on their own, yet I think the main idea here is that by adding another developer to the mix, things will go by quickly in terms of coding and adding new features. Recently, in the last month or two, they've added arrows to the supply lines to indicate where the attacks are coming from, and they've also added strategic points on the map, which you can see on Tarsh, Galaver, and Turin. Now, as of late, the Democracy Space Station is in the process of being built, and those strategic points go hand in hand with the DSS. Speaking of the space station, the support team member has mentioned that this is a new gameplay feature that they're introducing. Right here, B Vitamin responded to a player and said, "Yes, it is a new gameplay feature that we're introducing into the game by having players complete in-game events in order to construct it." Well, it seems like they might be adding a few more major orders that we can complete and actually see the progress over time. We sort of witnessed this with Meridia, except there were no strategic points. Instead, we had sort of a small in-game event where we were sent back to Super Earth right before the planet turned into a giant black hole. I thought this was actually really cool at the time, and it's something I'd like to see more of. I'd like for us all to return to Super Earth on the actual planet to celebrate Liberty Day in a small in-game event where you can only walk around so far around a small portion of the map, and eventually you get to talk to General Brash. He then gives you the original Helldivers 1 armor, and that right there, that would be incredible to see, and it would be insane. Yet, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But hey, a diver can dream, can't I? Okay, with that said, since we're on the topic of major orders and the Galactic War map, we need to discuss some concerns regarding the recent major order. There are many Helldivers out there who believe we're going to fail the newest major order, mainly because we only have 2 days left to complete it, and we're just about to reach 100% liberation on Ember. By the time you're watching this, most likely it's already completed, but I'll say this right now, we're not going to fail it. I get it, it looks like we're close to failure, yet we're going to get this completed nonetheless. But if you and a bunch of Helldivers decide to quit now and not help out, then yeah, there's a good chance we could fail it. It seems a bit contradictory, right? Yet what I'm trying to say here is we've got enough players as of right now to where we are on the road of success. So do not give up and keep pushing forward until it's done. Now, once we are done with this major order, we need to head over to Laseth and liberate that planet. The reason is that it will make things much easier when it comes to liberating Sojoth and Clausa. I do not suggest doing this now since we're on Coral, but you know, afterwards, it would be a great idea to get that planet out of the way so we can liberate the rest of the planets in the Tannis sector without any issues. If you feel differently about that, then let me know in the comments. With that said, if you're having a tough time fighting the bots, I have a great loadout that will help out a lot when fighting off the Automatons. I recommend using the crossbow, eruptor, and for grenades, I highly suggest either stuns or thermite. The explosion from the crossbow can be quite deadly, so equip an armor type that has the fortified passive, and it will save you from accidentally blowing yourself up. As for stratagems, you have a few options to choose from, yet I'll tell you what I personally use, and you can see if it works for you. Starting off with offensive stratagems, I use the 500 kg for hulks, tanks, and even factory striders, although it takes 2 500 kg bombs to blow up 1 factory strider. The second stratagem I recommend is the Eagle airstrike. It's great against smaller to medium-sized automatons, and it can also be used to blow up fabricators. Next, for support stratagems, I use the supply backpack more than anything. Yet a great alternative stratagem would be the shield generator backpack, so you can block incoming fire and remain relatively safe. If you're wondering why I use the supply backpack more, it's because I can refill my crossbow at any point while also refilling my grenades and stims. You can also hook up your nearby teammates with supplies, and it's pretty good in my opinion for both automatons and terminated missions. And last but not least, you're absolutely going to need an explosive support weapon that's powerful enough to take out bots like the hulks, cannon turrets, and tanks. We do have thermites to one-shot them, yet if you want to instantly destroy a hulk, I highly suggest using the EATS, aka Expendable Anti-Tank. It's incredible against hulks, and it's what I think is the best to use overall. You can of course use the recoilless rifle, which I think is also another great support weapon. Yeah, that's not possible since we're using either the supply backpack or the shield generator. Also, not to mention, the crossbow is stellar against bots that are grouped up together, and even deadlier against those fully shielded scout striders. You want to either aim for the sides where the rockets are so that you can one-tap them, or you will have to aim for either the legs or middle section. It takes roughly about 3 shots to blow up this scout strider. So that right there is pretty much all you need to know about this loadout, and I cannot recommend it enough. I use it on the highest difficulty for both bots and bugs, and I think it's going to help out a lot of you so that you can run through these missions as fast and smoothly as possible. If you happen to use a completely different loadout, then suggest some down below in the comments and I'll check them out. Next up, we've got news about the anti-tank mines. This particular stratagem is going to be receiving a significant change, possibly in the next patch or a future patch. As it stands now, it triggers both for smaller enemies and Helldivers alike, so the support team member Misty replied to a member on the Helldivers 2 Discord and responded with, "They do more damage, but still trigger with small units or Helldivers, but we are looking into that now." So without a doubt, that is going to be a huge change. The reason why is that the anti-tank mine shouldn't trigger for smaller enemies, if we're talking realism, right? The AT mine should only trigger if there's a certain amount of weight pressed on them, like how heavy chargers are, and even the tanks. So it's going to be quite useful in the future, not to say that it's not already great. That clearly would be a lie, yet it'll be useful in terms of not blowing up smaller enemies, or even friendly Helldivers. Alright, on to the next. What we're going to do is check out a few Helldivers 2 commercials, and you can catch me at the end of the clips.
Keep working to get your citizen score up. A higher citizen score means a better you. Automatons are not living beings. They are weapons, hell-bent on our destruction. And how do we defeat a deadly weapon? With an even deadlier weapon. Requisition yours today. 9 out of 9 doctors endorse Super Earth combat stims. Plus, they're a great source of vitamin D. That's vitamin D for democracy. Paid for by Permacura. There's no evidence that combat stims provide vitamin D. Please stim responsibly. The bugs are attempting to convert our worlds into swarming hives of fascism. Will you let them? Or will you join the fight?
With all that being said, this is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to be featured in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below. The first comment is by Glockio.s. My biggest concern has become what some players commented elsewhere. If DSS deployment will be voted, then bug divers will monopolize it. This right here is a valid point. I've seen comments in the past where some suggested that we would hardly see this on the bot planets. Instead, we would see the DSS on the bug planets, which very well could be the case. Hopefully not, but I think it's safe to assume that will happen. The second comment is by Arkham Silence 95. If you're diving on Claza, please switch to Ember and switch to Fire Armor to help against those fire tornadoes. Now that's not a bad idea, but for me personally, what I'm using is the Fortified passive because, you know, there's a lot of explosions going on, and that right there can save you a lot more than, you know, the tornadoes. I mean, how often are you coming across those tornadoes? Probably relatively often, right? But not as often as it is when it comes down to explosions. And last but not least, the third comment is by Taserface77. I got Helldivers 2 just over a week ago, and I am already level 45. It is a fantastic game. Democracy. Right there, congratulations, man. And yeah, hope to see you on the battlefield. But with that said, these are all the top 3 comments. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.